This video will give you some basic information about universal design for instruction. Universal design for instruction is founded upon the principles of universal design. These principles were developed by Professor Ronald Mace, an architect and instructor at North Carolina State University. Professor Mace developed polio when he was 9 years old and was confined to a wheelchair after that point. He became a great advocate for the rights of the disabled and for building codes that would require structures to be accessible by everyone. One of the laws that he got passed in North Carolina was part of the basis for the Americans with Disabilities Act. When universal design principles are applied to instruction, they mean that learning experiences, teaching environments, and instructional materials are usable and accessible to as many people as possible. Universal design for instruction has 9 principles. The first principle states that instructional design should be accessible and fair. This can refer to concepts of UDL, like giving students multiple ways to demonstrate their learning. It can also refer to best practices when it comes to user interface design. The second principle requires that instructional designers prioritize the preferences of their learners. This means that people can choose their own journey as they travel through a learning experience. You can see in this branching scenario how all learners begin with the same opening, a hook that draws them in, and then they're asked a profiling question, which leads them down one of 3 branches. They are in charge of what they learn. Principles 3 and 4 ask that instructional designers use a consistent interface when designing e-learning, that they not use any jargon, and that they minimize distractions. Interfaces should be intuitive and easy to follow. The 5th principle asks that instructors create a supportive learning environment with positive interactions between the students and between the instructor and the students. This is a guide to effective feedback created by Grant Wiggins, who along with Jay McTighe created the theory of backward design. What might be the most important of Wiggins' advice is that feedback be actionable so that students can grow and learn from it. Principle 6 advises instructional designers not to include activities that are overly physically demanding. Principle 7 asks that designers present materials in a variety of formats and use a variety of instructional strategies. This Venn diagram shows instructional strategies that can be used online, in person, or both. These can include direct instructional techniques like slide presentations or lectures, project-based learning, group work, or work done independently, or instructor-assigned formative assessments. The 8th principle states that learning spaces should be accessible to everyone. Professor Mace is partly responsible for this being the legal requirement in the United States. Principle 9 asks instructional designers to build a tolerance for error into the lessons they create, so that students can learn from their mistakes rather than being penalized. To learn more about universal design for instruction, please visit the following websites: the R.L. Mace Universal Design Institute, the University of Washington's Disabilities, Opportunities, Internetworking and Technology Center, or the website of the Center for Post-Secondary Education and Disability at the University of Connecticut.